Unauthorized, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so what does the recent Gondar incident tell us about the current state of affairs in Ethiopia?
Uh, the current state of affairs in Ethiopia, as can be seen from the vantage point of the Gondar incident, is that the country is in a fast track sliding into a total anarchy. And the Gondar case is a showcase of not just a simple incident of violence happening against Muslims or against the Command people or a certain community. Rather, it is part of a wider national network of system of violence. And in fact, it's a manifestation of something bigger than itself. It's a manifestation of an epicenter of violence, which has been built the last 4 years, and it has been also being used by different political actors as an instrument of achieving their political goals. So we can say the current case in Gondar is telling us how terror, when it is not checked and controlled by authority and law, can transfer itself into a total system of anarchy, which reproduces itself in different ways and forms across the country. As you can see, the case in Gondar is not a lonely case. It's not a mere episode. It's connected with what's happening in Oromia, what has been happening in other parts of Amhara, like against the Command people, against the Agaw. And most importantly, when the regional genocidal axis descended on Tigray, the last 8 months, we were profoundly sure that this genocidal system is going to repeat the same heinous crime, decimation, wanton destruction in other regions. So it's telling us that there is a system of violence which has been inculcated, supported, and encouraged to increase itself in a way it destroys every form of order, humanity, togetherness, and everything that makes us Ethiopian. So I take it as something bigger than a mere incident. Rather, it's a manifestation of a bigger problem.
Okay, so what are the vantage points of understanding the current violence dynamics as both an episode and as part of something bigger?
Yeah, in the first place, why is this happening in that region, particularly in that region, as an epicenter? And how it is manifesting itself could be understood from 3 major vantage points. One is more of theoretical, which is ontological, how such kind of behavior emanates. The second is historical, or how this violence have been evolving and manifesting itself in different historical periods. And the third is our current lived experience, or the experiential dimension. When we come to the ontological or theoretical dimension, there is this great French philosopher named René Girard. He comes up with this idea of mimetic violence, or a violence which creates itself by not having its own real objective or real goal or purpose or destination, but rather than by imitating the desire of other people. To make it very simple, he articulates the problem of intractable, deep-rooted, and anarchical violence in relationship to with the prevalence of what he calls desiring the desire of other people. So when you are desiring the desire of other people, you don't have your own desire, you don't have your own objective, you don't have your own purpose, you don't have your own destination. Instead, your highest achievement is only taking away what the Americans call the pursuit of liberty of happiness, liberty and happiness of other people. This is exactly what's happening in Amhara region. The Amhara fascists and chauvinists, they don't have their own well-defined, articulated objective in and of itself. Rather, what they desire is the desire of Tagaru, the desire of Oromo, the desire of command for liberation, equality, and democracy. So that's why, like Girard said, that's why it becomes intractable. That's why it becomes irresolvable. That's why it becomes so deep-rooted that it reproduces itself everywhere. You can see it's happening in Oromia. It has been happening in Gondar for the last 20 years against the Command people. What do the Amhara desire? By themselves. They are only desiring the desire of those Command people for self-rule. And what do they desire from Tigray? They desire our land. They desire our autonomy. They desire our freedom. So from ontological and theoretical perspective, this is a mimetic violence, which is based on devoiding
Phobia, and
or
said
devouring
religious leaders
the
had
precious
warned
values and
regional
desires of other people than having its own objective. You know what I mean? When a certain agent has its own desire, its own goal, its own objective, then that problem is at least easy to solve. Why? Because it can be deciphered from the point of view of interest of that very actor. But by now, those chauvinists and fascists, they are trying to snatch away everything based from every people. And so this is from theoretical perspective. It's a mimetic violence, it's deep-rooted, and it's anarchic. So at the end of the day, what it tries to do is, because it's not desiring its own goal, its own vision, at the end of the day, it wants to destroy the owner of that desire, the owner of that vision, the owner of that aspiration. For instance, Tigray's aspiration for political independence, for self-rule, or a state of one's own, is our own desire. But they want to possess it, which will not benefit them at the end of the day. So what they want to do is to annihilate everyone who is a legitimate and authentic owner of that objective, that desire. That's why they want to destroy Tigray. That's why they have been destroying Agaw. That's why they have been destroying Command. And currently they are also attacking Oromo. And actually, in Gondar, what they are doing against the Muslims of Gondar is a manifestation of what I have said earlier. The fact that when they are attacking Tigray, we know profoundly that they are going to commit the same to their people. Now they have begun with the Muslims of Gondar, and then next time it will be like going against every Gondarite or every Amhara across province or district. So we can understand it from theoretical perspective like that. From historical perspective, why is Gondar becoming the hotbed of such radical violence, full of hatred and chauvinism? Because Gondar historically has experienced a lot of violence. From the last 1400 years, the currently people of Beit Israel or Ethiopian Jews have actually been the authentic settlers of the Semin region, but they have been victimized, they have been dehumanized, and they were made to believe that they are actually Jews to the level that they have to leave the country. So Gondar, in the Gondar tradition, and especially in the Gondar political genome, violence has been encrypted. Violence has been written and embossed so deep that it's hard to even extricate it very easily. Even you can see in the beautiful songs of Gondar, in the dances, in every poetic experience, so much violence is filled in that. So historically, that was part of also a manifestation of how history have been keeping the culture of violence within this society. So now, when the Ethiopian system and the legal system, the authority stability has fractured, that old zombies of violence has come out from the substratum, and it's manifesting itself. And actually, when it comes to expressing how Muslims have been treated in Gondar, the recollection of Islamic scholar Ostaz Hassan Taju is a very important point. She says, I will quote, during the era of the kings and later on during the Derg, being Muslim in Gondar was like a curse. We cannot even say our prayers loud enough, lest our neighbors can eavesdrop and we take it as a pretext to attack us. Even during the holy months of Ramadan, we cannot even allow our beads of prayer or musbah to create a slightest clicking sound for fear of unprovoked attack from the neighbors. This was our reality. So the history of attacking Muslims, attacking other groups have been there as a tradition, and that was being canonized, that was being valorized as a showcase of actual Ethiopian patriotism. So historically we can understand from this. And we can ask now, why do they attack actually the Muslims? Because the point is, those fascists don't have their own desire, they don't have their own objective or vision, rather than they want to snatch away everything which is holy for every people. That's why this is the holy month of Ramadan. They are attacking the Muslims to just deny them, devoid them of the opportunity of praying and connecting with their Almighty. So from historical perspective, we can understand it this way. From current or emergent dynamics of politics, we can also understand why they are actually persecuting, killing, and destroying Tigrayans in Western Tigray. That's a continuity of the historically augmented and psychologically built behavior of using mimetic violence or recurrent violence or uncontrolled violence as a way of doing politics. So the same old trick or the same insatiable desire for taking away the aspiration, the dream, the interest, honor, and noble value of other people is being done now. So this is how I understand the Gondar case. It's not just a separate incident. It's not just an episode. It's deep-rooted within the tradition. And actually, it's also part of the culture of violence which has been inculcated in the country for the last hundreds of years. And unfortunately, the democratic experiment which has been undergoing for the last 30 years, 27 years before the coming of Abiy and his followers, couldn't even defeat it. That's why it's manifesting now uncontrollably.
So, considering these elements, what do you foresee in the coming future?
Theoretically speaking, such kind of violence, it doesn't end simply. Because, once you use violence as instrument of politics for long, once you use extreme violence and terror as a genuine, authentic, and dependable instrument of doing politics, and at the end of the day, what happens is, it's not the politics which uses the violence. Rather, the violence will be using the politics as its instrument. So it will progress until it destroys everything, including even the owner of or the designer of the violence process. And most disturbingly, which I wish it couldn't happen, but what's happening is now it's expanding, even manifesting itself in Gondar, among Gondarians, across ethnic and religious lines. But the point is not about religion, because fascists they don't have religious objective. It's not about even ethnicity. It's not about nationalism. It's only because uncontrolled totalitarian violence, which has been valorized, which has been kept as savor of Ethiopia's unity and independence for the last 4 years, is manifesting itself and devouring the biological basis of the Ethiopian polity. So at the end of the day, it will destroy the Ethiopian nation, and you will see within the coming even months, we will see sporadic expansion of Amhara, Fano, chauvinists attacking different regions. By now, they are attacking Oromia because that's one of the bases next to Tigray, which could show active resistance. And next time, if the resistance comes from Afar, it will happen again. If the resistance comes from South, it will happen. Why? Because already the devils are released. Because the violence has been unleashed, and the process which was used to decimate and destroy Tigray is going to destroy Ethiopia in actual fact. So the final conclusion is that this violence will not end until it finishes the Amhara people, it finishes the Fano, and it finishes those engineers of this highly embedded and protracted violence.
Dr. Muz, thank you for joining us again. Thank you so
very
much
much for having me.